Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk more about Disney's decision to settle with Donald Trump in regards to the ABC News George Stephanopoulos
Debacle.
So they allegedly defamed Donald Trump, called him a grapist.
Yeah.
Dropped the G on that, and they had to settle. It was like $15 million, and I think $1 million of that came out of George Stephanopoulos. George Stephanopoulos.
I don't know. I know they had to pay $1 million above the $15 million for his legal fees.
Legal fees, yeah. I always trip up on his name, man.
It's a name. I'm gonna say
it's a name. So anyway, we're gonna talk about this because apparently there's backlash now at ABC News, big time, because of it. Because they're like, oh my God, you're kowtowing to Trump. How could you? It sets a dangerous precedent. I'm like, well, when you've got all the CEOs of all the tech companies lining up to take turns going down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring.
Yeah.
This isn't surprising. And we did the video yesterday with Disney backpedaling on LGBTQ and trans content in kids programming. And there are rumors that people are getting gone from Marvel now because they pushed, for this kind of stuff in Phase 4 and Phase 5. So yeah, things are changing.
Yeah.
They want to make money again. And I think they know they're going to be punished by the Donald if they don't play ball. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Go out to clownfish-.com. Join the reef. We got merch. We got exclusive content. You can also check out the same content over on clownfishtv.locals.com. This is originally coming from the Wall Street Journal, but I think we're going to go with the independent version of it.
Okay.
So the Independent, which is more left-leaning. ABC's Trump settlement happened. Let's see here. Happened in hours as Disney feared moving forward could jeopardize landmark press protections. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it's not about the press protections. It's about Disney worried about Disney. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Press protections. If you keep saying something over and over and over again, it's not true. Why should you be protected for that? Because the press has been repeatedly saying things over and over and over again that aren't true. And that's one of the reasons why, people were surprised that, when Harris lost, they're like, wait a minute, I thought you said all this stuff was going to happen that didn't happen.
So I think this is just, Disney saving its own skin. Because
that's what it is, yes.
Look what they lost when they decided to fight Ron DeSantis. Mm-hmm. They lost Reedy Creek. They lost, I think their stock took a massive hit. A lot of consumers no longer trusted Disney. And they're like, oh my God, that was a state governor. If we go toe-to-toe with the president of the United States, this isn't going to go well.
What was also interesting to me was they went ahead and settled right before they both would have had to give statements.
Yeah.
And then they suddenly settled. Like before statements were given that would come to light what was, was other issues maybe potentially. And then they settled there. And I'm like, you're saying it's for the press and the greater good, but I don't think so because, why was it when you're going to have to sit down for, depositions or whatever that you suddenly, you suddenly are agreeing to it. Yeah. And they keep saying it's because they don't want to damage their brand. They don't want to damage their brand. And I'm like, this is the company who's already far, far, far damaged their brand. It came out like they had in their Disney Plus thing about you have to go to arbitration. That damaged your brand. You're, going to cost the school districts in Orange County, Osceola County in Florida millions of dollars because you keep fighting having to pay your fair share of property taxes based on intangibles like your brand, which is damaging your brand. You guys, I don't know how much further you could damage it, which makes me like, what was he going to say?
So side note, is that why Disney's been cheaping out on the hotels lately? Because the brand's not worth as much. They're like, well, there is no Disney difference. We're gonna make all of our hotels look like a Hilton.
Maybe, and then you can't be charged on the brand.
So,
maybe,
if we're not putting Mickey Mouse in the lobby, we're just making everything as sterile and bland as possible. But their excuse as
to why a hotel for them costs like significantly more than a hotel anywhere else outside of the parks is, well, it's the Disney brand, but you can't tax us on that. Yeah. And I'm just like, I just think it's interesting that they hurried up and settled it before they could sit down, like the days before they were going to sit down. Yeah. Apparently, to talk about it and, to take statements. And then they hurt and settled and they're like, oh, it's for the greater good of the media.
So this is, again, coming from The Independent, which is left-leaning. New details have emerged about Disney's swift decision to settle Donald Trump's defamation lawsuit against ABC News for $15 million, which saw the corporation criticized for declining to fight its corner and for potentially emboldening the president-elect to pursue further legal actions against his media enemies. No, I think they're doing it to prevent that. Like I said,
other sites said that they settled it to prevent.
Yeah.
Issues with the media.
Yeah, look how much, I mean, again, this is self-preservation. Look how much Disney lost fighting one governor of one state. I mean, granted, it's a big one because it's Florida and that's where Disney World is. But, do you really want Disney making headlines? Oh my God, Disney's fighting Donald Trump. Because do you know how quickly the consumers are going to turn on that company?
Well, it could also be because it was Donald Trump, and not just the consumers, but everybody and their brother was heading down to Mar-a-Lago, as you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah. They're taking
all
turns.
these other CEOs were like going down there.
Netflix's, the Apple, they're all going down
the
there.
MSNBC people, everybody was going down there to talk to him, which is, really weird.
It's like, I just see Trump.
Disney doesn't want to get a lawsuit with him publicly because that's going to probably, tick off, if more than half the country voted for Donald Trump, it's going to tick off half their audience. But beyond that, the guys coming in, you don't want to do anything that's going to, potentially cause you more problems down the road.
I'm just sitting here thinking Trump could be like, I talked to 100 CEOs in one day.
He probably could. But, when these comments were made, it was before the election was over. I think it was back when Biden was running is when he made the comments.
Yeah.
So, if Harris had won, we'd be looking at a different story, I think.
So they said, newspaper. This came from the Times originally, but they said the newspaper reports that it was a 21-page order issued by Florida federal judge Cecilia Altanaga in July, rejecting Disney's motion to dismiss the case that worried ABC's parent company and persuaded its lawyers to act fast. A reasonable jury could interpret Stephanopoulos' statement as defamatory. Stephanopoulos stated 10 times the juries had found plaintiff liable for rape. But that's not actually what
I'm not really
happened.
Understanding what actually happened. Apparently it wasn't what actually happened.
Apparently.
Sex abuse, not rape.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, because according to the New York, I guess, standard of it.
According to New York, which that's,
But according to Florida, they didn't.
It's defamatory because you can't call the president a rapist if he wasn't found.
Yeah. So it's
that.
like,
I'm sorry, grapist.
So, it's like they didn't dismiss. Disney's latest thing is to try. Disney's latest thing is to try to keep getting things dismissed again. They tried again with their venue. They keep trying with that one, sports, because they keep trying to get things dismissed and it keeps failing. They tried to get it dismissed with Gina Carano, keeps failing. They tried to get dismissed with the 230 some, was it million they had to pay people for, was
that the minimum wage?
Yeah, the wages issue. They tried to get that dismissed, I'm pretty sure, and they failed there too.
Yeah, it's there because look, lawsuits are expensive, and I know Disney. Well, okay, so when Disney was doing better, now this year they've actually done pretty well with some of their entertainment, but when they were doing really, really well, they would take on every lawsuit they could. And
well, not just that, they'd stall people out.
Because
now
they're poor.
They are stalling a little bit by all these dismissal, legal things, but they're not. They're trying to get things dismissed, but I think that is a stalling tactic. But I also think that they're not pushing as much as they used to. Which tells me they don't have the money, and I think to push as much as
I don't think they have the money. And they're getting sued on all sides. I mean, we had the whole allergy thing going on. We had, class action lawsuit against Disney Plus or something that was going on. Like they've on any given day, they're probably fighting like 50 different legal battles. But given the damage that was done to them as a result of them going after DeSantis or getting into it with DeSantis, they're like, it's not worth it. Like we're going to lose a hell of a lot more than $50 million.
Right.
It potentially at
settle
the box
it and
office
silence it so that we can move on. Because if it gets out, if it becomes more widely, I don't think people knew about it until they made a big deal about how they settled. So the media is, making a big deal because Disney wanted to just do it quickly and quietly, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, so this is where it gets, because look, journalists F up sometimes. They say the wrong thing. They misspeak. They have the wrong data. So this is the thing. People are worried with like defamation cases or, libel cases or whatever, that if you screw up and they catch you screwing up that you're going to get sued for. No, basically you have to, you have to
I mean, technically you could, but most people aren't going to bother.
Yeah, it's not, because if you go to the jury, they're going to be like, oh, you had the wrong data, or you're quoting an article, or you just didn't have your facts straight, you misspoke, whatever. Because you're usually given an opportunity to correct yourself.
Not always.
And you like, look, if there's an attempt and you're going before a jury to correct yourself, you can. But where the defamation thing, as I understand it, again, I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand it, is if you are willfully and maliciously repeating the same lie over and over and over again, specifically to make the person look bad.
Like the MAGA hat kid, where they kept writing the video out of context on purpose to make the audience see only the part that made him look bad. They weren't showing you the entirety to show that he wasn't the perpetrator in that. I can't speak. The perpetrator.
The puppeteer. So Stephanopoulos has said, yeah, he stated 10 times the juries had found Trump liable for grape.
And if he had been told that it wasn't true and he kept saying it,
that's just it. Because somebody could have said,
I don't know.
That was like The View, because they were spouting off and they had Sonny Hostin read that little prepared statement from the lawyers, like, no, we do not believe, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned The View, because people are pointing out The View, every time there's any lawsuit about Donald Trump, they're making sure everybody hears all about it, they talk about it, never mentioned this one.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Our parent company basically had to settle, but we're not going to mention that one.
So they said agreed to a $50 million compensation package to cover Trump's $1 million in legal fees and to issue a statement expressing regret.
It was we talked about the other day. Yeah.
The New York Times reports a settlement was recommended by Disney's general counsel, Horatio Gutierrez, and approved by Bob Iger, but was not voted on by the company's board.
Oh.
With the executives fearing that a Florida jury hearing the case in Trump's own backyard might well sympathize with the president-elect and award much higher damages. So that does change things. The fact that it's taking place in Florida.
Yeah, I noticed that the judge was in Florida.
If it was New York or it was California, it might be a different thing. Yeah, it said conscious of its unsavory recent legal fight
with DeSantis.
Disney opted to settle rather than lose the case and endure a lengthy and costly appeals process that might have taken it to the Supreme Court. And again, it's not just that. You have to look at the brand damage that would have been done. If Disney was fighting with Donald Trump for the next 3 or 4 years, all the right-leaning customers would be like, we're boycotting woke Disney again.
It gets a little deeper than that if you read the next paragraph. So had it gone to Supreme Court, Disney was afraid the case might have given Trump and his allies the opportunity to attempt to overturn the 1964 First Amendment decision in New York Times versus Sullivan, which made it more difficult for wealthy public figures to win libel lawsuits against the press.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think again, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm somewhat familiar with this. And if I recall correctly, it was if you're a public figure, people can basically say more shit about you because you're a public figure. They can talk smack within reason. You can't maliciously paint, but you can say you're an asshole, you're whatever. Right. Yeah.
Well, they said that they're also thinking that ABC News was worried they wouldn't be able to cover Trump, or that he would get revenge and take their broadcasting license. Well, you can't just revoke a broadcasting license that easily. It's not like, oh, I just decided,
Well,
come on. I don't think you could just decide, I'm going to revoke their broadcasting license as the president. I don't think it goes that way. Because if that was the case, any network that didn't do what you wanted, you could go revoke their license willy-nilly. There are checks and balances for a reason.
So... yeah, but I'm going to say that it is very curious that all these tech companies and media CEOs are lining up to kiss the ring.
Well, it's funny you say that because media pundit Paul Farhi or whatever labeled the settlement as an awful precedent and a huge sellout. And a Democratic Party lawyer, Mark Elias, wrote on social media, knee bent, ring kissed, another legacy news outlet chooses obedience. Says the people who, have been shaming Fox News for years, but Yeah,
this is a really interesting situation, and just the about face. And again, make no mistake about it. I think the only reason that Disney got into the culture wars to begin with was that they had people at the company telling them that this was the future. This is the way to go. This is your customer base. They all want this. They all want the DEI. They all want the, super far LGBTQ trans content. Everybody wants this. You're ahead of the curve. This is what people want. Because look, we had a poll on Tumblr, and everybody on Tumblr said this is the way you want to go.
Blue
Sky says, it's like survey says. Yes, the most mentally ill people available are all saying this is what we want. And now they're finding out, oh my God, this hit us in the wallet. They almost lost to Peltz because he was going to come in and be like, yeah, we're going to course correct. And the shareholders are rioting.
ABC's already going to fire because The View has been, so controversial. And, Whoopi Goldberg did the thing, she stepped into it with the bakery and all this other stuff.
That was just idiotic.
Yeah. And they keep making comments and they keep, stepping into, for some reason they say, I would argue sometimes they make similar accusations, but they don't get sued for whatever reason. But, ABC can't risk it. I think you might see The View walking it back because they're afraid that they're going to say something that's going to put them into another situation.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny because they're all like, you bent the knee, you kissed the ring. And it's because they want access and Disney doesn't want to damage their brand any further because they know a lot of people voted for Trump. And it's interesting. It's interesting because they're all so afraid of him.
Yeah.
He's going to take our license away. I don't think he could just take your license away because he doesn't like you. If that was the case, how many presidents would have taken licenses away before?
Yeah. So it's just like, God,
they're so pissed.
We just live in bizarro world. Like it's so, I'm getting whiplash from this because just a couple of months ago, everybody was so damn convinced that Trump was just going to, wither away, disappear. All these media outlets kept telling people, oh yeah, Trump's gone. He's gone. He's never coming back. Ha ha ha. Who the hell would vote for Trump again? And now he's back with a vengeance. And they're like, oh shit, we're going to get snapped. He should have gone.
I don't think you could just snap them like that. But people,
they tried to go for the head.
The audience might snap them. That's more scary. The audience could snap them.
They tried to go for the head and it didn't work.
Yeah, you missed.
You missed.
I missed.
And it's insane, again, to see so many of these outlets that have been so hypercritical of Trump. It just shows you really at the end of the day, corporations are going to corporate and it's all about their bottom lines. They don't give a shit about ideology for the most part. I mean, you've got people at the company that do, but if it's going to hit their bottom line, then they're like, yeah, we'll kiss Trump's ring because we're going to be out of business if we don't.
Well, it's funny because they're even using that analogy now about kissing his ring.
Yeah, well, they're not wrong. I'm not saying look, I'm just saying, businesses are going to business and this is what they got to do. And if it's like,
I think it's a matter of they're afraid they're going to dig into it further. So be friends with them, and otherwise, he might dig in further, and then the public's going to find out about this, that, and the other.
Well, the Walt Disney Company as a whole has been what's the term the kids are all using? Ideologically captured. It has been for at least a decade now, and you have a lot of activists at that company. And I think if they started digging in, well, they've got the Slack is out there, right? Boy, I'd love to know what was in
they
that.
kept trying really hard to make sure that Gina Carano she didn't go to Discovery.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting.
Because you're going to find out just how far down the rabbit hole things go, especially with Lucasfilm. I mean, I think, again, people don't realize, the Walt Disney Company is fairly compartmentalized. This is why, Tim Allen's he's getting another show. He's doing like a home improvement, but with like cars or something.
He's been doing that.
Is that on now? I don't even pay attention.
Yeah, my parents watched
oh,
before,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
None of those cars. It was like they were building stuff. I think they do stuff with cars too. Yeah.
But he's had multiple projects at Disney, whereas they didn't let him come back as Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, and look how well that went.
But that was Pixar, right? Yeah, and it didn't.
I think he's going to be back for the next one.
Yeah, they're going to make damn sure he comes back. And, so it's like they're compartmentalized. But I think with Lucasfilm, Lucasfilm is probably the most, Lucasfilm and Pixar being San Francisco based companies are probably the most ideologically captured.
I think what you're running into is you have people that are so focused on politics and ideology and all that crap. They assume that the rest of the world is too, but they're not. Yeah. They're tired of your shit.
It's a 10% teapot. Yeah, they do. And that's the thing. Like, we have all these people at these media outlets, and they're shocked. I mean, they're legitimately shocked that people would vote for Trump, or they're shocked that people might have more conservative viewpoints. But I'm like, if you'd leave Berkeley, if you'd leave LA, you'd find that you are actually in the minority compared to the rest of the country.
Right.
You're so out of touch with the rest of the country. It's unbelievable. So they're going to believe it now because it's going to hit them in the wallet. We're going to wrap it up?
Yep.
Let's wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.